This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? The Mark Weber here, and I'm joined by Sean Anderson.
Dub them means.
That's right, dub them means indeed. No Ricky on the podcast today. He's busy. He's in VidCon. Yeah, we fired him and sent him to VidCon to represent Most Valuable Podcasts with Dave Oster. But today we're going to continue what we just began, and that's talking about every single team in the NFL, all the previews, talking about what they did in the offseason, in free agency, in the draft, what we can expect, what we are nervous about, all those type of things as we go on. And we're going to be talking about the NFC East this time, featuring, of course, Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. But we'll get to them later as we talk about the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles, the Redskins, the Giants. We're going to go from the bottom with the Giants and work our way up, as we always do. But before we do that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, if you wouldn't mind, hit that sub button so that way you know when everything's going on, especially when we actually have more of these team previews going up and we hopefully get to your favorite team. Leave comments, hit the thumbs up, all that stuff. Head to mostvaluablepodcast.com where you can see everything that's going on from MVP. Go to patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast where you can actually get to be on a podcast like the Onside Kick, like the Fast Break. If you like basketball and you like to listen to Sean talk, you can do that. Of course, we also will have T-shirts. Neither one of us are wearing them right now, but trust us, they look great. You can find those on mostvaluablepodcast.com.
Mine's just dirty. I wear it so much. It's so comfy.
It's nice. You got to wash them when you wear them so much, but that's okay because they won't shrink on you. Anyways, I don't really know if they won't shrink or not. Mine has not shrunk, but I don't know.
Mine hasn't either. So, so far we're 2 for 2.
We're good. 100%. Like I said, NFC East today. We're going to start off. Let's talk about the New York Football Giants, who, as we were going before we actually hit record, there was a few things that the Giants did, and we're like, but really, what matters is health. Mm-hmm. Can they stay healthy? Because of guys, like when Brandon Marshall got hurt, Odell got hurt, Shepard got hurt, everybody was hurt. All of a sudden, they don't have any of these weapons out there. Eli Manning had a really rough season because of that, but things should hopefully kind of right themselves a little bit. But let's talk about with the Giants, let's just talk about some of the offseason free agency moves that they made. They get rid of Brandon Marshall. They signed William Gay, Michael Thomas. They no longer have JPP. They get Cody Latimer, which is a move I completely forgot about. Mm-hmm. Nate Solder, which might be one of the better moves that they made to shore up that offensive line, which certainly needed help. And, of course, getting rid of Roger Cromartie and signing Jonathan Stewart. There's a lot of new pieces. Do you have any kind of favorites or any things you're worried about that they lost?
My favorite one is that Jonathan Stewart one. I'm not too worried about what they lost because I think this team needed a change. This team needed to get some of the old culture out and bring in some new players. And, obviously they got rid of McAdoo and brought in Pat Shurmur to be their head coach. But the biggest one I like is that Jonathan Stewart move because he's still a decent running back, but now he's going to be the second guy behind, clearly, Saquon Barkley. And you look at that offense, you look at those injuries to the wide receivers. The one thing they didn't have last year was a capable running back to get them consistent yards. Now you have Saquon Barkley, who we think is going to be an absolute stud. You still have Jonathan Stewart, a guy that's consistently getting yards and has been consistently getting yards no matter his age. So he's a guy that's going to be able to run behind this upgraded offensive line, clearly with Nate Solder. They added Jerry John as well. This is a team that now can, come up and possibly have a dual threat offensive attack through the air with one of the best wide receivers in the game in Odell Beckham Jr., still a capable quarterback in Eli Manning, and now that dual-head rushing attack with Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Stewart. And now, hopefully, if everyone's able to stay healthy, you're going to be able to get Pat Shurmur to get his culture in there, get his at least offensive scheme in there, and hopefully this is a Giants team, again, hopefully, because there's a lot of questions still with this Giants team, hopefully get around that 8-win mark or possibly the playoffs.
It's very obvious, I think, what they're trying to do. You get a guy like Nate Solder, you draft Will Hernandez in the top of the second round, you have Saquon Barkley, you have Jonathan Stewart, and you get Pat Shurmur. That's the big thing. It's very obvious with this head coach that look at what the Minnesota Vikings did. They were a dink and dunk kind of team that will kind of lull you to sleep, and then they're going over the top. They are a strong running team. When Darkwa had 750 yards last year, and that's your leading rusher, you're not going to, be upset to have 750 yards. Sure, why not? But that's not good enough. It's not good enough. There's reasons why Ben McAdoo's offense wasn't really working and why they're going a completely different direction. They don't want to be this very pass-heavy team that's relying on, well, if, our 3 wide receivers get hurt, we're screwed. There's nothing we can do in that case. Take some of the pressure, of course, off of Odell, who hopefully is going to be healthy again. But I think that's a really good thing, and it was very obvious to me that that's really what they tried to address. Now, I also kind of think that maybe they should have done a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, too.
I honestly kind of like their defense. And this is one thing that, we look at this team last year and we completely torched Ricky for picking the Giants last year to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not many people thought that outside of Giants fans and Ricky. But this defense was, pretty decent, and we look at the players on this defense. Alec Ogletree is a monster, and they just got him in that trade from the Rams. Olivier Vernon on that line still good. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with losing JPP, but even you look at that secondary, Landon Collins is one of the best safeties in the league. Eli Apple was horrible last year, but he had a great rookie year.
And apparently they're going to give him another shot.
And maybe
they're not
rid
giving
of
up on him
Ben McAdoo will help. Maybe giving him a second chance will kind of put him in the right direction. But this team still has a lot of pieces that I do like, and even Lorenzo Carter. You look at their first 3 picks, Saquon Barkley, Will Hernandez, and Lorenzo Carter, all of those guys I absolutely love. I think they had a really strong draft. I think this defense definitely has the ability to come out and at least do enough, because clearly they're going to be going up against the Eagles twice a year, but I think they have a good enough defense to probably slow down the Dallas team. I know Zeke is a monster, and that offensive line is absolutely stacked, but we saw last year what the Cowboys were able to do without Ezekiel Elliott, and wasn't too good. We know if you're able to put pressure on Dak Prescott, he's going to have a rough time there. And the Redskins, Alex Smith is a capable quarterback. I know you guys love him, but it's going to be interesting to see how he comes into that Washington Redskins offense. So you look at those.
He's at least going to be efficient.
Yeah, you look at those 6 games in the division. They're going to have a shot in every single one of them. Maybe not the Eagles one in Philly, but at least I think they have a shot at those 5 games, because I think their defense is strong enough. It's not going to be a world beater in top 5 defense, but I think it's going to be solid top 15, top 10 defense. I think they have a lot of playmakers on that side, and I love Landon Collins so much. I think he's a true stud. So I think this New York Giants team, I don't think they're great, but I think I wouldn't be too shocked if they did make the playoffs, because if they're able to stay healthy, we know Eli Manning's able to stay healthy. We know he's at least consistent. He's going to throw touchdowns. He's going to throw picks,
despite his record being ended.
Yeah.
Not by choice.
No. And we know they have an outstanding playmaker on the outside, and Odell Beckham. And you look and talked about the dink and dunk system that they're going to put in. Evan Ingram was one of the best rookie tight ends last year, and he looks like he's going to be able to fit into that system. And if Saquon lives up to the hype, their offense is going to be able to do enough. And again, I think this defense is going to be, not mediocre, but middle of the pack, maybe a little bit higher. And I think they're going to be, again, doing enough to at least win a couple games.
So with that, and I guess part of the preview thing is we're going to talk a lot about what teams did right, and of course we'll get to certain things that we think teams did wrong, but we don't want to be negative the entire time either. And currently everybody is tied for first place, or if you want to say tied for last place, you're a pessimist, but currently everybody's tied for first place right now, so there's a lot of optimism, there's a lot of hope. Is there a chance that, they were 3-13 last year, but is there a chance that people are sleeping on the Vikings? I don't even know today. But sleeping on the Giants right now?
I think so. I think just because of how bad last year was, it's fairly easy just to laugh at the Giants, laugh at the decision to start Geno Smith over Eli Manning, and one of the worst moves that luckily isn't the worst quarterback move last year, the worst clearly being the Bills starting Nathan Peterman over Tyrod Taylor, but still.
And going back to him at one point in time.
Back to him. It wasn't 5 picks bad, but it's still ending a marvelous record from Eli Manning, just because you wanted to change things up a bit in the middle of the season when you're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And we also look at the Eli Apple stuff. That stuff was, comedically bad from the Giants. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, again, comedically bad there. You saw the injuries. This is a team that I think people might be sleeping on because, again, I think their defense is solid enough. I think their offense, if all these pieces fit, this could be a team that wins 8 or 10 games. And again, it kind of goes back to how will OBJ play coming back off the injury? Will he play with that whole contract situation? And then also, if he's going to play with that contract situation and he's not getting re-upped,
yeah,
it might be a motivation where OBJ is going to be better than what we've seen
that
before.
That pre-contract year is a wonderful year.
I mean, OBJ not playing for a contract is something. So I wonder if he has that motivation of playing for a contract, what it's going to be like.
And he does say he's going to be attending camp, and he is attending camp. So, that's good. That's fantastic. You want him there. You have a new coach, so there's this kind of new atmosphere. You don't want to leave a bad impression with the new coach and things like that because he's got no loyalty to you. He can get rid of you if he really wanted to. They're not going to, but I'm just saying that's the motivation for Odell to actually show up and play.
Well, it gives it the same to Eli Apple, too. It's like they have no loyalty. You're on your last shot. So that's why I think, Eli Apple, even though last year was so bad, that could be, something that at least turns him around because he's still young.
And some things that are a little bit misleading, I think, with the Giants is when you look at their total team type of stuff, I mean, this team gave up a ton of points last year. Their average a game, 24.3, is really, really bad. They only scored an average of 15 points. I think those two are, for some teams, they're very, very telling of what last season was. And the Giants are one of those teams where it's very, very telling. This offense couldn't do anything worthwhile. And because of that defense was out there all the time. That fact alone of having a competent running game and having healthy wide receivers is going to help out that defense as well, just to let them catch a breath every once in a while. It's not going to be just 3 and outs where you're like, all right, guys, get back out there. It's your turn again. So this is certainly going to help out a lot. The problem for any of these teams, but talking about the bottom half here, is the fact that it's a very tough division. Any of these teams, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl, but any of these teams can win this division next year.
Yeah, and we saw, even the Cowboys the year before when they had Zeke, what they were able to do. The Redskins are an interesting team. I think I'd probably favor them the least out of the four. We'll get to that in the preview, obviously, of the Redskins. But again, this is a team, like you said, this is consistently one of the most competitive divisions in the whole NFL. And it's going to be interesting when you see what these teams can do at home, how the Giants are going to be able to do against the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Redskins all at home. And that's really how you're going to be able to win this division. We consistently see this is one of the divisions like the AFC North that's consistently close, that there's always a changing of the guard near the top, whether it's the Giants, who've won 2 Super Bowls since 2007, like the Eagles last year. The Cowboys are consistently, with Romo, even with Dak, are consistently 8-8, coming even closer to the playoffs. So this is going to be a bloodbath in the AFC or in the NFC East, like we usually expect. So I think with the Giants, it's going to be I think the biggest thing for them is how they're going to adapt to that Pat Shurmur culture. And we've seen before new head coaches in their first year. It's going to be something if they adapt to them, they might skyrocket and they might be able to take off that energy. They might be able to win a couple early games and just gain that confidence, especially having a veteran quarterback, having a dynamic playmaker on the outside like OBJ, having hopefully a dynamic stud of a running back in Saquon Barkley, and again a solid enough defense. This defense last year was pretty much middle of the pack, and that was even giving up 25 points per game. They only had a -3 turnover differential. That's with Eli Manning as your quarterback, one of the most at least consistent quarterbacks it is when throwing picks and interceptions. That's with no wide receiving help at all. And I think they even have a pretty decent pass rush. This is a team that, again, I think that has the right pieces, especially in the division, to at least go 3-3, maybe even 4-2 if they're able to beat the Redskins and the Eagles and Cowboys once. This is a team that if they're able to do that, they might be looking at the playoffs just because, again, you're riding that high of a new coach, that new system, and just a fresh start for everybody. OBJ, fresh new season. He gets to get away from punching, kicking nets or whatever. He gets to play for a new contract. Saquon gets to revitalize this New York Giants team. Eli Manning gets to rebuild his legacy. Eli Apple on the defensive end too, and even Al Ogletree coming from the Rams to the Giants gets to pretty much prove like, hey, you guys shouldn't have traded me. I'm worth it, and he's going to be a guy that I think is going to be an interesting addition to this defense. So it's pretty much a fresh start for the Giants. And if they do want to take it, even Pat Shurmur too, getting another head coaching job, it's a fresh start for him. It's something that if they're able to take all of that momentum, this is a team that can make some noise.
And the thing that's going to be a challenge for them is, I mentioned the division, but just their schedule as well. I mean, you'll look at schedules and you see a couple games like, all right, we got some gimme games. There is not a single game on this schedule where I'm like, yup, Giants are winning it. I mean, and it's not because the Giants are a bad team.
Yeah.
It's not because I think they're going 0-16, but they're going to play, you look at the fact that they're playing teams like the Jaguars. You're playing the Texans when they're going to have Deshaun Watson back. The Saints were just a playoff team. They're playing, well, basically I can just say they're playing the NFC South and you'll get it. But, they're playing tough teams where, like, if you're just going to say purely on paper or by records, the easiest team on their schedule is probably the Buccaneers, and that's it. The Colts by that time should have Andrew Luck what is that, week 16?
Yeah, he should be back by then.
We're hoping that he's healthy, but there's not much easy on this schedule. I mean, the best thing they can do is go in week 1 and really surprise the hell out of everybody and just beat the Jaguars. That will make a statement.
Well, and it's at home too, which is going to be to their benefit. I mean, you talked about it. 7 of their first 8 opponents made the playoffs in the past 2 years. I mean, Jacksonville last year, Dallas the year before, Houston the year before, New Orleans, Carolina. Those were both playoff teams last year. Obviously, Super Bowl champs in Philadelphia, Atlanta making it to the Super Bowl the year before and the playoffs last year. I mean, it's going to be a hell of a schedule. And even the teams that are bad on their schedule, like you mentioned, San Francisco went 6-0 to end the season. Tampa Bay is still an interesting young team with Jameis and your boy Mike Evans. We clearly love the Bears here on MVP. And Indy, like you mentioned it, with Andrew Luck, they might be a playoff team because when he's playing, they typically are a playoff team. And he's going to be hopefully healthy by that point. So, like you said, I mean, and then even then, like Tennessee, former playoff team or playoff team last year. So it's a hell of a schedule that they have to deal with. Not only, like we mentioned, the hellacious NFC East that they have to go through, even the outside of that, it's going to be one hell of a ride.
It can potentially be a difficult season where maybe the Giants are only a 6-10 kind of team next year. But really, this is one of those times, and people get mad at me for saying this sometimes, but they don't want the moral victories. They want wins and losses on paper.
Yeah.
But it might be a season where, honestly, if you're 6-10, but you were close in a lot of these games, that's not a bad thing because next year your team has a full year under their new head coach, understanding the scheme. They're kind of reset some things because there were some voids on the roster that needs to get addressed. But if you get this offensive line working the way it should, you get a competent run game, and people stay healthy, that alone is something to be happy about.
That's where I disagree with you, though, because it's not really I think you can't go with a moral victory for this New York team because we have to look at their window. And you're going to have Saquon for that rookie deal for the next 5 years. But also, your dynamic playmaker on the outside, OBJ, might not be on this team next year.
That's true.
The biggest question is your franchise leader in Eli Manning is getting older. We don't know when he's going to retire. We don't know when he's going to have a bad break and possibly get injured. And you took a gamble not going with a Sam Darnold, who was on the board. You went with Saquon Barkley, and you're putting your investment into a 37, 38-year-old quarterback in Eli Manning. So your window is now. Your window is the next 3 years. And if you miss one of those years, it's only 2 more years after that to go and win another Super Bowl with Eli Manning under the helm. So you have to push now. So this is where I disagree with you there. I don't think it could be a moral victory for the New York Giants this year. You have to get 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. You have to put yourself into the position to make the playoffs if you are the Giants, and then hopefully you get the luck of the draw again like you did, the 2 Super Bowls that you won. Even though you were the 6th seed, you were able to run the table and win the Super Bowl. You need to do that again this year because that's the goal for the Giants. And, this is a team that, again, was 3-13 last year, and now their goal is the Super Bowl. But that's just because of what Gettleman put them into. Yeah. Is Eli Manning still a capable quarterback? Yes. But he's 37, 38, and he's, might break down. He might just lose it. I mean, let's look at his brother. I know, obviously, 2 different scenarios because Eli's been more of an Iron Man than Peyton is, and Peyton's more skilled than Eli was. But, this can fall off the table at any point. And I don't think he's on that TB12 diet. I don't know what the Eli 10
He's not drinking enough water.
I don't know what the Eli 10 diet is like, but he might not have that body to hold up past 38, 39 years old. And one hit can knock out your franchise, and then you're throwing in Kyle Aletta to be your starting quarterback. So it's something where I think that the Giants need to win now, and we mentioned the schedule. It's going to be a tough one. And if you look at the bye, a week 9 bye, you have to be going in near 500 or 3-5. You have to be putting yourself in the scenario to go with 8 wins because you're going to have your easier opponents, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Chicago, Indianapolis, like we mentioned. There's 4 wins there, but you have to at least put yourself in that position by the bye week to at least get those wins. So if I'm the New York Giants and the New York Giants fans, you got to be hoping for a hot start gain some confidence, and maybe you falter against the good teams like the New Orleans, Carolina, Philadelphia, and Atlanta stretch. If you go 1-3 and that's your worst stretch of the season, maybe that's a moral victory. But in the end, this has to be a team that's looking at the playoffs, or maybe even going into that Dallas game in Week 17 to put themselves into the playoff.
And it's one of those hard things because I don't think that when we really look at it, because we have Peyton who came back from a devastating injury. Mm-hmm. We have Tom Brady who apparently the world believes he's playing until he's 45 because he wrote 45 on an Instagram post. But we have these guys who are playing later than what we typically would expect they should play. And Eli will be 37 for the vast majority of this season. So there's a chance that you have a little bit longer out of Eli than you might think. Now, every year, of course, people are going to complain about Eli Manning because Eli Manning is a great quarterback, but he has his flaws. He does make some poor decisions. He does throw a few too many interceptions more often than not. But Pat Shurmur's here. And Pat Shurmur is a quarterback savior in a lot of ways he brings those things down. He will make you more efficient. He will make you smarter in a lot of ways in those decisions that you make. I think this is a fantastic move coaching-wise, because this should actually give some longevity to Eli Manning and addressing the offensive line in multiple different ways in the free agency and in the draft is showing them that showing us that the Giants are very serious about keeping Eli Manning here for a long-ish period of time.
Well, it's going to be interesting because maybe we do see another Eli renaissance. I mean, we saw in 2013 he had one of his worst seasons, 18 touchdowns, 27 interceptions, a 57% completion percentage, under 4,000 yards, and had a quarterback rating of like 69% there. And then he went back up to 92, 93. Then he's come back on the decline the past 2 years, 86 and an 80 quarterback rating. Maybe he's able to turn that into and become more of a completion guru. I mean, he for his career, he's still under 60% as a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see if Pat Shurmur can kind of take that and turn Eli into more of an accurate passer, more of a guy that's going to be not taking too many risks down the field and being that gunslinger.
Yeah.
But that's a lot to ask for a guy that's been playing a certain way for the past 13 years now in the NFL, being a guy that has his place in New York. And the only way he didn't have his place was because Ben McAdoo wanted to make a power move and throw in Geno Smith for a quarter. So I think with Eli, the biggest thing is how is he going to adapt to this Pat Shurmur offense, and maybe he can have a renaissance. Maybe he can take that next step to being a guy that's over near 65% completion percentage, near 64% completion percentage. But again, we've seen Eli Manning enough where I think that with OBJ on the outside, I think he's probably going to be still that quarterback that takes deep shots. He's still going to be that guy that, again, needs to win ball games for his club. And this Giants team might be in close games a lot where Eli will have to throw the ball deep, and we'll see how his arm strength is at 37 years old. Yeah. We'll see how he's able to move around in the pocket, if he's still able to be fluid and still be able to shake off defenders. If Eli doesn't have that, then Eli doesn't really have that many skills because his the best thing about Eli is his arm strength and his ability to at least use his bigger body to at least escape from pass rushers, even though he does have a better offensive line this year, escape from pass rushers and be able to extend the play. So I think Eli, it's kind of a make or break year. If he's able to have a good year, then maybe we do take that as a moral victory and say, all right, we got a couple more years under Eli Manning. But if he comes out there, he looks bad, or if he gets injured, God forbid, I mean, this is going to look like a bad mistake passing up on a guy like Sam Darnold or even Josh Rosen. It's
possible because you look at the depth chart and it's Davis Webb or it's Kyle Luletta. Mm-hmm. And Webb, they weren't even confident enough to put him out there last year, which I think, and Giants fans got mad at me for saying that on Twitter, but I'm like, that tells you something if they're not willing to give the rookie a shot in what is a waste of a season anyways.
I mean, they gave Nathan Peterman a fucking shot, for God's sake. I mean,
and that's a joke.
And Geno Smith was your quarterback for a little bit. I mean, Geno Smith has been written off the books since his first game.
You know
as
what
a Jet.
Geno Smith is. You don't know what Davis Webb is. Let's find something out.
Well, and if we're looking at this, even let's look at Kyle Luletta. I mean, they took another quarterback in the 4th round, just around where they took Davis Webb at 3 last year. I mean, I get it. We don't know what we've gotten out of it, but you have to at least try and see what you're going to get for him. And if they go to Kyle Luletta first, if he ends up being the second on the depth chart, then that just looks like a waste of a pick because now you just wasted a pick in the 3rd round in Davis Webb where you could have went out and gotten a guy for the offensive line. You could have gotten a guy for the linebacker position or even a pass rusher in the 3rd round last year. And it just looks like a mistake if Davis Webb never takes a step in a Giants uniform.
And that's dangerous. And with Eli Manning, I mean, they need to have a good season out of him. I mean, because he's never had a 64% completion season. You know, I mean, they need something good. He's had his great seasons. He's been close to 5,000 yards once or twice, but they need to either have this kind of renaissance with him or turn him into this just very safe, almost Alex Smith-like, let's be smart, let's be efficient, and let's just let the team be successful.
But one of the best things about Alex Smith and even Case Keenum, if we're looking at last year, is these guys have a lot of mobility. They have the ability to possibly pick up a first down with their feet. Eli Manning doesn't have that ability. I mean,
for sure.
And we look at Peyton. I mean, Peyton had his moments every now and then, but he's very similar athlete to Peyton Manning. These guys are old style quarterbacks. They're pocket passers. So I'm going to even wonder how Eli Manning, if he's going to hold back this Pat Shurmur offense, because he's not going to be able to step up and pick up 10 yards on the ground with his feet. So it's going to be really interesting, at least to say how Eli Manning adapts to this New York Giants offense and this Pat Shurmur offense, because again, like you said, he's a kind of enigma. He'll throw 25 interceptions. He'll lead the league in interceptions 3 times throughout his career, but he'll also, again, like you said, almost have 5,000 yards back in 2011. So he's a guy that might go down as one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but then people are going to look back and be like, really? Why? He won two Super Bowls, but that was because of his defense. And he's a guy that, again, he's Peyton's brother. He's not Eli Manning. He's Peyton's brother.
For sure.
So he's going to go down as a legend, or maybe at least a Hall of Famer, but he's going to be a guy that, again, maybe he's in that Phil Simms era where it's like, all right, he wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and he definitely, when we're 20 years in the future, people are going to talk about Peyton. They're probably not going to talk about Eli that much. Unless we're talking about Tom Brady, which then Eli Manning will come back up as the Brady beater. But for all of our Giants fans, let us know what you guys think about their difficult schedule, about the additions they made in the draft, in free agency. Is this defense going to be good enough? Is Eli coming back, or are we just seeing a slow decline of what was a staple in the NFL? Let us know down below. All right, so to move on to the Washington Redskins, this is the team which, even though they were not in last place in the division last year, I think the Redskins probably, for the average person out there, have the most questions that need to be answered.
Well, and they're a team that I don't remember any of their wins. They went 7-9, but I don't remember any of those 7 wins. I don't think any of them were like big. This is going to piss off Redskins fans, and we're not even a minute into the video. But
to be fair, if you're the Giants, it's easy to remember 3 wins.
Yeah.
There you go. Now the Redskins fans can be happy.
Well, and even also, the Giants had that game against the Chiefs, where what's his face, Marcus, Marcus Peters, just like throwing his shoe into the crowd. That was memorable. I don't remember anything from the Redskins besides them getting stomped on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah.
Well, bye, Redskins fans. But anyways, to talk about the Washington Redskins, the reason why I say there's a lot of people have a lot of questions on them let me first get to what I think is a big concern, and then we'll move over into some positive things. But a lot of their players have had surgery in the offseason. Guys like Trent Williams, Jordan Reed, Morgan Moses, Stacey McGee. They had a lot of players that were injured last year, so much that they required some type of surgery. And that, I think, for a lot of people, is bringing up hopefully these guys come back, because those are some important people there too. But the Washington Redskins did actually do some really good things free agency with getting Pernell McPhee. I mean, we're in Chicago. We love that, obviously. Paul Richardson. They traded for Alex Smith, which is really what the big story is. They, of course, in the draft, they get guys like Daron Payne, which we love Daron Payne on this show. I'm assuming that you also love Daron Payne.
He's a good, I like the pick. And one thing I do want to correct myself, they actually won on Thanksgiving. That's how memorable it was. They beat the Giants. I don't even remember it.
All right, well, that's fantastic.
The next week they got stomped by Dallas, though, 38-14. But yeah, I like Daron Payne. I think he's a guy that's going to make. I mean, it was him and good old the guy that got drafted from Washington.
Vita Vea.
Yeah, Vita Vea. He was second defensive tackle in my mind, but I thought he was a really good addition to this Redskins team. I thought they were either going to go Vita Vea or they were going to go Daron Payne. I still like the fit there, and especially that second-round pick getting Darius Geis. It's just adding to that offense. And the biggest thing that I'm questioning is how this offense is going to look, because they weren't awful last year. They weren't spectacular.
But it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins didn't have a lot of help last year because Doxson wasn't consistently healthy, but they now added a healthy Doxson. Hopefully, they got Paul Richardson from Seattle. They brought in Brian Quick, so they're going to have 4 guys that they're going to look at in Doxson, Crowder, Richardson, and Quick on the outside. And then the biggest question for them offensively is going to be, can Jordan Reed stay healthy? Because we know what Alex Smith can do. He's not going to be a super different quarterback, and we know that they have some decent running backs. Rob Kelly is pretty good when he is healthy. Darius Geis, clearly. Chris Thompson was fantastic last year, especially coming out of the backfield. Samaje Perine has been even decent. So they have the running backs. They have the wide receivers on the outside if they can stay healthy. The biggest thing is, will they have that game changer in Jordan Reed, which we've seen him to be, but how much is he going to be healthy? How much has the injury affected him? And this offense, if they're able to stay healthy, could be a really interesting offense this year, and maybe very similar to that Chiefs offense that we saw last year.
Yeah, and that's the thing they need, because you look at this team and they're thin at wide receiver. This is a team that I think in order for them to be successful, they have to run the ball very well, and Jordan Reed is going to need to be healthy because, Jordan Reed, for anybody who's had him on fantasy, they know he's that guy who 1 week he wins you the game. The next week, he gets nothing for you.
Yeah.
And part of that, of course, is because of injury, but they need desperately for nothing to go wrong on the receiving area.
Well, and the reason I compare him to the Chiefs last year is because, outside of Tyreek Hill, they didn't really have a game changer on the outside from that wide receiver position, but we've seen Jamison Crowder be a really decent and consistent performer out on the field for the Redskins, and I think he's going to continue to do that. Paul Richardson's an interesting guy because he's a pretty decent deep threat, and John Doxson was a first-round pick, and he hasn't been consistently healthy, and if he is able to be healthy, people loved him coming out of TCU back in 2016, so I think they have 3 quality wide receivers. I think, obviously if one of those guys goes down, then it's going to be a big thing. Maybe they even go and get Des Bryant and add him to the team. I think that's very unlikely.
Tennessee Titans apparently is what they're saying.
Oh, really?
Is that they're kind of leading as a favorite at the moment. But these are all rumors.
Yeah, we don't know. But, again, if they feel like maybe even go get T.O., I don't know. Maybe they
that'd be fun.
I think they feel, he'd be 3 away from finishing out the NFC East because he need to hit the Giants too. But I think it'd be, I think this wide receiving core at least will be interesting because I do like Paul Richardson. He was a pretty decent performer for Russell Wilson. Now he had Russell Wilson as his quarterback, but Alex Smith isn't too far off. Not as great of a thrower, not as great as a leader, but he's still pretty damn good. And I think Jameson, again, is consistent enough. So I think this offense, again, if they're able to be healthy, they have a really good offensive line. Brandon Scherf's fantastic. Trent Williams, clearly fantastic. So I think that this is going to be a team that will be able to protect Alex Smith and be very similar to that Chiefs offense, especially even let's look at the rookie running back. We saw coming in last year, they had an explosive back. Darius Geis might be that guy because even when Leonard Fournette was out, when they were both at LSU, Darius Geis picked up and it sometimes even looked better than Leonard Fournette. So if Geis is able to come in and be that game-changing playmaker, it's going to be interesting to see how this Redskins offense ends up working because they might have the second-best offense in the NFC East. I won't put them above the Eagles, especially with Carson Wentz when healthy, but this is going to be a really interesting offense with Jay Gruden and the weapons he does have.
It's going to be very interesting with the running back group because, Darius Geis was actually my second favorite running back in the draft. So to have him fall so much where the Redskins can trade down and still get him, trade down, everybody, that is a fantastic move right there. It's just that the room is a little crowded. Then we've already had this discussion on the Onside Kick about Darius Geis. Is he the wide receiver, or I'm sorry, the running back number 1, or is it going to be running back by committee? I don't think it can be a running back by committee. I think he should be able to take the hammer and just run with it and lead this running back group because they've got 3 guys who are all good, but don't, in my eyes, don't really stand that much apart from each other. With maybe Perine being an exception. in my eyes, just from what I've seen from him before.
See, that's the thing is I think Thompson's the one that separates himself because of his ability to catch out of the backfield.
That's actually a good point, though.
So I think the one thing, though, is let's look at last year with the Saints having Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. The reason why Mark Ingram started and was their first go-to back was because he's consistently been there, and he was a first-round pick for them not too long ago.
Yeah.
And we look at this Redskins team, Rob Kelly's been injured consistently. He's not a guy that you've been able to rely on, especially the last year, because he's been out. He hasn't been healthy. Chris Thompson, he's great out of the backfield, but again, he's been injured. P. Ryan was their third back behind those two guys and didn't start, unless those two guys were banged up. So I look at Darius Geis. He's young. He's got energy. Why not start him? I mean, if he fails, then just go to the other three running backs. But this is a guy that he's gonna not have lingering health concerns. He's not a guy that at least has taken NFL hits before, so his body's gonna be fresh. And this is a guy that wants to prove himself. He seems like a really competitive kid. Most guys in the NFL are, but he seems like a guy that wants to really make a mark. I don't think this is a Saints situation where you have to deal with Mark Ingram. I think it's more of a Chiefs situation, even last year again, where coming in able to win the starting running back job and able to take over.
Yeah, and Kareem Hunt was
I couldn't think of his name, so thank you for saying it.
Oh, you're welcome. Kareem Hunt that was a huge addition to move that team forward.
I think it's more of a Kareem Hunt situation than it is a Kamara situation.
And I think they need it. They need that. They need someone to lead because this running offense, this is one of the worst rushing yards per game team out there.
Yeah.
And you just look at their guys and there's kind of a reason why, like I said, these are the guys who are your switch them out type of guys. These are your running back by committee kind of people because they had a great passing attack. But the fact is it's going to be very different this year. And even though they like everything they've seen of Alex Smith, they like what they've seen for Darius Geis, they're liking what they have. The thing that the Washington Redskins really, in my eyes, need is they need to be healthy, but this defense, I think, is going to need to step up a lot as well. And it's similar to what we've talked about with the New York Giants, is the fact that they are going against difficult teams, of course, and with an Alex Smith kind of offense here, which is the weapons around him, I think are a step back from what he had in Kansas City. Not a huge step back, but it is a step back. They're going to face good teams. Alex Smith can be the guy, we saw it last year, who can kind of stall a little bit and have trouble and get off the field quickly. This defense is going to need all the help they can get. That's why their first round pick is a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
That's why they get a guy like Pernell McPhee. They know that they need that help because they're going to be playing guys, like Drew Brees, like Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, everybody in their division who are good quarterbacks. They have a lot of tough quarterbacks to go up against. They need to be able to get to them. They need to not let teams throw all over them, which the Washington Redskins in the past have been in shootouts because that defense has been a step behind the offense.
Yeah. And then I think one thing, too, is going back to the rushing attack that you mentioned, was that they were consistently in close games or they were behind. So they needed to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if they're able to find a balance between that offense and defense, they're going to be able to at least set up their offense, be able to throw out a rushing attack that's going to be implementing all four backs. And even last year, they only had 2 games last year where they had a 100-yard rusher, and both of that was P. Ryan. And back-to-back games where he had 117, then 100 on the dot. But this defense, again, I think they have a lot of playmakers. And the biggest thing for them, I don't think is going to be at least pressuring the quarterback, because Ryan Kerrigan has proven that he's a guy that can pressure the quarterback. Zach Brown, the free agent they got from Buffalo, proved last year and in the past couple of years that he's being able to pressure the quarterback. Deron Payne is more of a run stopper, but he's a guy that's really physical.
He's got to just eat up space.
The lane.
Yeah.
Jonathan Allen last year was one of the top prospects until it came out about his injuries. If he's healthy, he wasn't 100% healthy last year. If he's healthy, he can be a guy that really pressures on the outside. And even Mason Foster's pretty decent. We talk about Pernell McPhee. Pernell McPhee, when he's healthy, he's a guy that can get you 7 to 8 sacks. So I'm not really worried about the at least attack on the quarterbacks. It's going to be, can the guys on the outside make enough plays? Can Orlando Scandrick, who they brought in from Dallas, make enough plays on the outside edge? We know Josh Norman could be a shutdown quarterback. Can he be able to take that ball and be a Marcus Peters and be able to get 6-7 interceptions, be able to bring the ball the other way? Because the biggest thing when the Chiefs were having success, they were winning the turnovers battles. They had the best turnover differential in the NFL, especially the year before. So if they're able to do that, they're able to pressure the quarterback like Kansas City was, and then be able to at least get some turnovers and be able to put the ball the other way and get that offense more opportunities. that's how Washington's going to have the biggest success. And I know I keep comparing him to the Chiefs, but I think it's very similar because you look at the head coach, Andy Reid, again, was an offensive guy. Same with Jay Gruden. They have the quarterback in Alex Smith. I think this is a team that can really mimic not last year's Chiefs. Well, yeah, maybe a little bit of last year's Chiefs, but more of the Chiefs from 2017 that had a lot of success. I think that's going to be the team that they kind of mold after. And this is going to be a team that if they're able to, again, be in games where they're putting the pressure on the other team, not be playing from behind, can be a team that can hold leads because of their defense and be able to run the clock out with their four backs, with Alex Smith who can extend plays with his legs and be able to throw short yardage to Jamison Crowder and to this guy. So with their defense, I think it's really looking at that secondary and how Josh Norman and their safeties and other corners can step up and get force turnovers for their team.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to help out for sure. What it comes down to, and certain players that you mentioned are some of these guys, the Washington Redskins, if they stay healthy, that's just going to be a tremendous advantage to them. I don't think there were very many teams out there that were more injured than the Washington Redskins were last year. They had so many injuries. Yeah, outside of our Chicago Bears here, they were so badly injured and depleted everywhere. And they need that to kind of be addressed. And it's funny because we're talking about some of the additions, and a few of these additions are people were like, but if that guy stays healthy too, so that's always the dangerous part. I mean, there's reasons why other teams didn't keep that type of player. So they definitely need that for sure. But when it comes to the on paper, they've got a lot that they need to have an offense that will move and score and be successful. They've got a defense that will hold on its own well enough. And really what they need, I think that the thing that the Washington Redskins might miss out on, and hopefully Alex Smith can get back in touch with that. Think back to last year's Alex Smith at the very beginning when he was throwing all over everybody. Nobody could stop Alex Smith. I think if the Washington Redskins can get that, and there's a reason why they go and they grab themselves a deep threat, because they need to have that as well. If they're going to just be this dink and dunk kind of team moving forward, that's not going to be enough to keep up with a lot of these other teams they're going to face. So they are going to need some of that. And it's interesting because Kirk Cousins was the guy who says, I'm going deep. Yep. That's what he likes to do. Alex Smith is not that guy, even though he has shown that he can do it in the past. But he is not the guy who's going to do that. He is a smart, methodical type of passer. There's a reason why he has not had more than double-digit interceptions since, 2010? It's been a really long time since he's had double-digit interceptions. So that's very, very valuable in that case to be smart. But I think they're going to need a little bit with like Richardson and Smith's connection to really build so they can have that deep threat as well.
The thing that I look at with the Redskins is I think they have a fairly decent amount of depth. We talked about the running backs, we talked about the wide receivers, but it's really about who's going to separate themselves as that next time, that next level playmaker. Is it going to be Geis? Is Jordan Reed going to be consistently healthy and be a top 5 tight end?
A lot of people, of course, are going to want it to be Doxson because he hasn't proved it to the NFL just yet.
And he still has plenty of time to prove it. I mean, if this needs to be the season where he does prove it. We're not saying that he doesn't have that ability, but again, there are question marks with his health, and when he is on the field, he hasn't been extremely dynamic. And even on the defensive end, I mean, Ryan Kerrigan's been good, but he's getting older. Josh Norman has been fine, but he isn't a guy that, again, is like Darrelle Revis back in his prime.
He hasn't quite been that Carolina stud that he was before he got traded.
Good, and he's worth the contract, and we know he's going to put up his best fight against OBJ, going up against the Giants. But I don't think they have. I think they need a guy to really separate himself and kind of identify this defense and give them a major identity, because Ryan Kerrigan's been there for the longest. You probably think he's the leader on this defense, but is he going to be able to be a consistent performer? Because even himself, he's been dealing with health problems throughout his career. So I think the thing is they have a lot of depth, both offensively and defensively, but I don't think they have a stud. I don't think they have a star, and that's even looking at the quarterback as well. Alex Smith is pretty much the middle of the pack quarterback in my eyes. He's a guy that kind of blends in the crowd. This is something that I've always said. I mean, I'm not trying to bash Alex Smith. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a guy that's separating himself like Peyton was or Brady was. He's not a guy that really encapsulates the media like a Russell Wilson can or a Deshaun Watson was able to. Alex Smith will get the job done, but I don't think he's a star in his own right. And looking at this at least schedule, it kind of gets screwed because you get week 4 bye week. You're getting absolutely screwed by that. And if you're trying to stay healthy, that's not going to really be to your benefit when you're playing from week 5 to week 17 with no break at all.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be an interesting start right before that bye week as well. I mean,
I like their first 3 games. I think they I think they could possibly go 3-0.
Interesting, even against the Packers.
Well, they have the Packers at home. So, and this is a Packers team with no rushing attack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I don't think, did they pick up a dynamic running back? Did I forget anything? I mean, this is still the Packers that has, yes, Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers still coming off an injury.
Yeah.
And, we'll see how they can really separate themselves with those outside attacks. Yes, they got Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham, even in Seattle, wasn't the same Jimmy Graham. And they have Devontae Adams, but how will Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers hook up? And if you're able to shut Devontae Adams down with Josh Norman, who else is going to step up in that wide receiving core for the Packers? And that defense, I mean, I don't really think...
Yeah, the Packers' defense has never been anything exciting.
With Alex Smith, a guy that's not going to make too many mistakes and not give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers, I think it's a very winnable game, especially being at FedEx Field. And then you look at even week 2, Indianapolis might be able to throw the ball question mark, but it's Andrew Luck early in the season.
Yeah.
So will Indianapolis be able to get their offense, get their quarterback, get their running back? It's a lot of questions for Indianapolis right away, week 2, to go up against a team in Washington that might not be, great, might never be the best team in the NFL, but will be consistently good week in and week out. I think they'll always be in a position to win, even with that tough schedule, especially from week 5 to week 17. It might be a team, though, again, that goes 7-9, 8-8, because they're not a great team. They're really good to, consistent team. And even Arizona, too. I mean, they're going up against Sad Bradford, or possibly even a rookie in Josh Rosen in his first game. So I think it's going to be a thing where, that might be the toughest game for them, that Arizona game, especially being at Arizona. But I think they're consistent enough where Arizona is more of a flashier team. They have Larry Fitzgerald, who's one of the most consistent players in the NFL, but you're also getting David Johnson, if he's even healthy by that point. You're getting Sam Bradford, who we know is never healthy. Josh Rosen might be starting in his first game. A defense without Tyrann Mathieu. A new head coach. I think that's something where the Redskins have a really nice storm brewing, at least for the first 3 weeks, to at least get off to possibly a 3-0 or even a 2-1 start, which would be really beneficial to this team.
Yeah, I for the sake of the Washington Redskins, I hope they can do it. The Cardinals, I think for sure that's their easiest. I actually think it's their easiest matchup, even though it is away. Even though people probably, the Andrew Luck thing is what determines whether the Colts are the easiest one or not, in my eyes, just because of if Andrew Luck's out there and he's a motivated Andrew Luck. I mean, he's scary when you look at pictures of him right now in shorts because he looks like a linebacker. But, if he's out there and he's motivated and he wants to throw on everybody, he might just be able to do it. And, of course, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers in weeks 4 and 3, I said in the wrong order. Those are going to be tough, too. But the Washington Redskins fall into the same difficult trap that every single one of these teams are going to fall into. And we're going to say it probably every single time. The NFC East is very difficult, and the NFC East schedule in general is going to be difficult. So they are a team that I could easily see being a good team this year, but exactly what you're saying, could fall into that 7-9 to just 9-7 window of in the middle because it's just difficult.
And the biggest thing for them is how will they go up against the NFC East, because outside of their division, they were pretty damn good. 1-5 against the NFC East last year. They lost both games to Philly fairly badly, both by 10 plus points. Even by Dallas, they got smoked by Dallas even bigger, 33-19, and then 38-14. And you were able to beat the Giants once on Thanksgiving. Again, sorry for fucking that up. On Thanksgiving by 10 points, but then you went back and lost to them by 8 in the last game of the season. So it's a game where it's a thing where if you're able to go 3-3 in the division, that might mean you're a 9-win team this year. You might mean you're a 10-win team this year, but also you're going up against a much harder schedule this year. You're not going to be playing Denver. You're not going to be playing a weaker San Francisco team without Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not going to be playing an Oakland team that really lost its identity from the year prior. So I think this is a schedule that, again, they had a very early bye week last year and were able to deal with it, a week 5 bye week. But if we're talking about injuries, if we're talking about staying consistently healthy, if we're trying to say starting off and trying to find a star, it's going to be tough with having a week 4 bye week, then going up against New Orleans, Carolina, Dallas, New York, Atlanta, and then you finally kind of get a break with Tampa Bay, but even then picks right back up with a tough defense with Houston, then back to Dallas, Philly, New York, and then another tough defense with Jacksonville and a playoff team last year in Tennessee and then Philadelphia. It's just going to be a consistent go for the Redskins.
And the hard thing the Redskins are going to have, if this is a team that is, let's say they're in maybe like 6-8 type of territory or whatever it might be in week like 14, week 15, they're then going up against division opponents, a lot of division opponents, the Super Bowl champion Eagles twice in their last 6 games here. The Jaguars, the Titans, who will probably be competing for a playoff spot.
And those are at Jacksonville and Tennessee.
Yeah, that's very true as well. So this last-minute race for the wild card is going to be very difficult if the Washington Redskins are in it still. Yeah. They could easily be that team that falls out because they're playing a lot of difficult teams. It's just the unfortunate, draw of your schedule. But it's going to hurt the Washington Redskins more so than a lot of other teams.
In those last 6 games too, 4 of the 6 are away from FedEx Field, and 4 of the 6 are against playoff teams. Philadelphia twice, and then Jacksonville and Tennessee. So I mean, like you said, it's a bad luck of the draw, and when you're trying to push for the playoffs, it's going to be a pain in the ass. So it's really winning. It's probably the easiest thing to say, but you got to win at home and you got to win against your division, or at least go 500 against your division.
You can't do what you did last year, that's for sure.
No, and this is a team that against Carolina, I might even favor them against Carolina because that Cam offense, Cam was good last year. Cam's been an MVP before, but Cam isn't consistency. He isn't Alex Smith. Yeah. He can be a guy that can be a top 10 quarterback and be extremely flashy while doing it, or he can look just completely lost out there on the field. And this Carolina has a really good at least defense, but again, going into FedEx Field that we know might be even sloppy at some point of the season could be a thing where they are able to upset the Carolina Panthers. And then we're looking at it, if they beat Arizona, Indianapolis, and Green Bay, they can be 4-1 to start the season. You're already halfway to going 8-8, even with the hellacious schedule. So it's a Redskins team that I think has a shot every single week, but they might not be favored every single week, especially going up against the Atlantas, the Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Tennessee's of the NFL. But I think it's going to be consistent. I don't think you're going to be seeing blowouts every single week. I think you're going to see 10-point losses to even 3-point losses, or even 7-point wins, 3-point wins. I think this is a team that can be consistently in it. It's just, can they win enough games?
Yeah. Can they win enough games? Can they stay healthy? And really, is the run game going to be as good as people expect? Those are the main questions. But you guys can let us know down below what you think the answers are to those questions. How's Alex Smith going to be for the Washington Redskins? What's the defense going to look like? What's the running back situation going to look like? Let us know down below. So let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys, another team that didn't make the huge splashes in free agency necessarily, except for the fact that they cut a very, very talented Dez Bryant. Some of the other things that they did, of course, getting Allen Hurns, their new probably wide receiver number 1, Deontay Thomas. They got Joe Thomas, everybody's favorite. Actually, no, the linebacker Joe Thomas, not everybody's favorite Joe Thomas. But really, when it comes to the Cowboys, and people are actually people are kind of critical of their draft. I don't dislike their draft. I thought they did fine. I like Leighton Vander Esch, even if people were saying he potentially has health issues. I like Connor Williams a lot. People were saying that Connor Williams pick was a reach. I thought Connor Williams could be a first-round pick.
Well, I think they got screwed because I think it was like a pick before, or maybe even like 2 picks before, the Eagles went up and got a tight end, and that was right after Jason Witten retires. So I think that's why people were screwing on the Connor Williams pick. But yeah, I mean, you just add a guy who has a ton of potential. He's going to be able to sit behind that offensive line. That's already fantastic. And when you need to, get rid of one of those guys because one of their contracts comes up, you just throw in a guy in Connor Williams who's been able to work under a great offensive line already. So I like the pick. Maybe I think it was just they were getting screwed on because they didn't get their tight end.
Which they did draft a tight end, but it was in the 4th round, Dalton Schultz. So, I mean, I guess maybe that's not that exciting. Michael Gallup, of course, wide receiver as well in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I like their first 3 picks.
I think that the Dallas Cowboys did well in the draft. The big thing for Dallas is going to be, and I hate to be the person that does this, but I think a big question mark is Dak Prescott. Because we had a really, really great season out of Dak Prescott, and then we had a more average season out of him. And the question, of course, is going to be now without a guy like Dez Bryant, even though Dak and Dez didn't really work that well together, but he doesn't have a very, very solid number 1. He still has Zeke. That's going to help out tremendously, of course, and Zeke being there for 16 games instead of having a 4-game suspension is certainly going to be useful. But this is a team that needs to kind of re-find their identity on offense a little bit, because the run game was fantastic last year, but the passing game is what suffered a little bit. And then, as you like to say, defensive backs. Who? What? What are they going to do?
And that's the thing I want to start with is because we look at this defense and it was this passing defense was absolutely horrible. And some people would say, well, we gave up the top the least amount of 11th least amount of yards passing with 3,425. But also they were bottom of the league when it comes to passing touchdowns against them. And when you look at quarterback rating, they gave up a 94% complete quarterback rating to opposing quarterbacks. I mean, they had one of the worst passing defenses in the league, and now that's even going to be suffered when you have a guy in David Irving who you re-signed being out for the first 4 games. I mean, this is a team that consistently can't find a pass rush, and we look at this secondary, and there's no one that really stands out in the secondary that makes me think this is going to be a team that really is able to shut down opposing quarterbacks, especially when we're talking about a guy in Eli Manning who's extremely well versed, is a major veteran in this division, and you're going up against OBJ in that team as well. You look at Alex Smith, who's one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL, and let's talk about Carson Wentz, who might be pushing for the best quarterback in the NFL if we're looking at what he did last year before he got injured. Even then, Nick Foles won him a Super Bowl. So this is a team that you're going up against 3 great quarterbacks consistently, and you don't have the ability to stop them through the air. This team has playmakers on this defensive end. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch was a good pick. Sean Lee, when healthy, which is a major question, is great. Jalen Smith, I love him out of Notre Dame. If he's healthy, if he's able to come in, he can be a linebacker of the future. But I don't think they have a great enough defensive line, especially with David Irving being going to be suspended for the first 4 games. You're looking at guys like Taco Charlton, Ward from Oakland, who they picked up, DeMarcus Lawrence as well. I mean, they need the ability to rush the passer, and I don't think they have the playmakers to do so. And then even the linebackers, you have very young players. Byron Jones might be your best secondary piece, and he's all right. I mean, I don't think they have the ability to really go up against the great offenses, or at least the great passing offenses in the NFC East. And I think that's going to be a major problem when you have a guy like Dak who has no weapons outside of Zeke. Because you're looking at a guy in, Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, guys that are, number 2s, number 3s. I know Allen Hurns had a really good season that one year Blake Bortles decided to, ball out. But again, he's a guy that's been injured, and he's the worst of Robinson and Hurns.
And a lot of that was garbage time. Type of balling out.
So I don't really know if this Dallas team did enough to help Dak and help this team go back to the playoffs, because they have one of the best offensive lines. They have one of the most dynamic running backs in the league, but can Dak Prescott do enough with the weapons that he doesn't have? I mean, you have Deontay Thomas, Terrence Williams, and even Tavon Austin they picked up too, but I don't think that's enough to really help Dak. They don't have a game changer on the outside or even at the tight end position to really help him out and take him to that next level, or at least back to his rookie year. Again, he was fine. He's going to be consistently completing passes for you, but he's going to make some bad mistakes. He's going to throw interceptions, and he's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to throw for 400 yards, 300 yards, and win you ball games. He's going to rely heavily on Zeke, which most quarterbacks would do when you have a playmaker like Zeke, but I don't know if they have enough on the outside where they're just not going to stack the box and, guys like Josh Norman, Eli Apple, if he's able to come up to play, and even that Eagles secondary aren't going to be able to stack the box and just make Dak throw the ball. And again, I don't think Dak is the thrower to be able to throw the ball 35 times and win you a ball game. So I don't think they did enough to really help Dak Prescott to turn this team to a for sure playoff team. Can they make the playoffs? Yeah. But I don't know if they're going to be a lock in my eyes. I think this is a team that has a lot of question marks going into this season.
Yeah, Dak Prescott last year had one game where he threw over 300 yards against the Giants. And
that's not saying much.
The year before that, he only did it twice. So, I mean, he isn't that guy. He got close with the Washington Redskins as well. But he isn't that guy where he's going to completely dominate and lead. Although, to be fair, I mean, he did look like he maybe would have flashes of it that playoff game against Green Bay when he really went toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. Now, that's fantastic. The team still lost, but that's still fantastic and all that. But really, when you look at this team, they don't have those weapons. They get rid of one of the weapons, which, to be fair, Dak didn't use enough as he should have with Dez Bryant.
Yeah. Well, Dez was also injured, and there was that whole thing with Dez not being fully healthy, and then all the questions marked about Dak or Tony Romo, and Dak was Tony's guy, Dez was Tony's guy. So I think it was just a bad situation for a rookie quarterback to be thrown into.
You lose the tight end with Witten. That's a retirement type of thing. Nothing there.
It's still major though, because Jason Witten's I'm saying nothing
as in they didn't force him out.
No, and they were trying to
couldn't do
bring him
anything
back,
to do about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it does tell you a little bit of something that they weren't able to convince him to come back. Maybe and I'm not trying to start that debate, but maybe if Tony Romo was still there, maybe there's that argument of, hey, we still got one left. We can finally make this happen.
I don't know. When you're looking at a guy like Jason Witten who played as much as he did, already a Hall of Famer, and that Monday night job opens up, very rarely.
Very lucrative.
It's
very
a
cushy.
lot of money where you're not getting hit by NFL linebackers. I'm not too shocked Jason Witten took that job.
But I just think that you lose a lot of this stuff. And Dak Prescott, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he is a quarterback to last a while with Dallas for sure. They just need to give him some of these weapons, and it's unfortunate that a lot of this kind of has happened the way it did with Dallas, but sure, maybe next year they'll go and get these weapons. But the one thing that Dallas can do, at least in theory, is go and get Earl Thomas. They've been talking with the Seahawks before the draft, after the draft. Supposedly it was going to take a second-round pick. Just do it. You need a safety. You are not good enough at the very far end of your defensive backfield. Go get a guy who will be solid, and sure, you're going to have to pay him, but he's kind of worth it. This is a team that didn't really get very many interceptions last year. It's a bend, don't break kind of offense or kind of defense. They really could use with a solid safety who can, who has proven that he is very, very good on the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, I think the biggest thing is they need a leader out there. And I'm not saying Sean Lee isn't a leader, but Sean Lee isn't a healthy player. I mean, he's consistently getting injured. And when Sean Lee's out on the field, Dallas is a completely different defense. They're they're a top defense in the league. Sean Lee completely changes that defense. And if you add Earl Thomas, a guy that can be a leader in the secondary, just like Sean Lee, it's just going to improve that defense magnificently. And you're going to have a star on that defense. You have a star on offense in Zeke. You're going to have a star on defense in Earl Thomas if you go out and get him. I want to throw this out there because ESPN put this out 6 hours ago. It's teams that could trade for Earl Thomas. The offer would be Earl Thomas for a 2019 third-round pick and a 2020 fourth-round pick, and the length and value of the extension for Earl Thomas is 5 years, $62.5 million. Full guarantees 25, total guarantees 31 mil. Would you do that if you're the Cowboys?
I would, because I think you need it. I mean, I don't think you're set at safety. I don't think you have the answer in the future because you're talking about an extension as well. I don't think that's there, and I don't think that a third and a fourth is really that bad of trade value to go grab a guy who's going to be able to make your defense instantly better. You have a lot of good pieces. You have good defensive minds on the coaching side. You can make this team better defensively, and you kind of need to because you're playing teams that have good quarterbacks, that have good, who have the ability to move all over the field. You need that because you need to slow the game down a little bit because you are going to be a little bit more of that slower moving offense that's going to focus on runs and who's going to focus on short passes, and you don't have weapons to just go over the top with people. So you need to kind of change the way you're thinking of it, and when you do that, most times it requires a really talented defense.
Yeah, and one thing they've done is go out and get young players in that secondary. Jordan Lewis was a third-round pick last year, and then even Chidobe, I fuck up this name all the time. Chidobe Awuzie was a second-round pick last year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't bad last year, but they didn't have a leader on that secondary, and Earl Thomas would be able to take those guys and at least give them more confidence because they have a guy in Earl Thomas to rely on. Now, giving him 5 years, that's going to be worrisome, especially coming off the injury that he did and being 29 years old. But
yeah, you play with the contract. So
and you got rid of Dez,
cut him in
too.
year 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, and you got rid of Dez, too, where that opens up that cap to go out and get a guy like Earl Thomas. And you're not helping out your quarterback in the sense that you're going to have a guy, one of the 11 guys to throw to, or the other 10 guys on the field to help him when he's out there. But you're going to help him at least get the ball and get more opportunities for Dak, for Zeke, and that might be able to at least break off a big run for Zeke. That's going to at least push the defense in, and that might open up things for Dak. And again, we keep going back to Dak, and he had a worse year, clearly from 2016 to 2017, but he didn't have the same weapons. Clearly, Zeke was dealing with his suspension, and he still had a decent year. If my quarterback's going to give me 62.9% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions,
yeah, you're not upset.
I'll take that. I mean, he's not a top 10 quarterback like we were praising him to be after 2016, but he's a good quarterback, and I think he can be the franchise quarterback still for Dallas.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, to move off of Earl Thomas a little bit, but when it comes to it, for me, it's really, I'm just not that confident in Woods and Heath to be the, my last line of defense.
Yeah.
Necessarily. I think that when you just look at positions, there's an upgradable position right there.
Yep.
And you're exactly right when it comes to Dak of course those expectations were really high because he had a really good rookie year. But what always happens is now there's tape. Now we can study. We have a whole offseason to learn about this guy because everybody was spending their offseason talking about Tony Romo to be surprised in 2016 when Dak Prescott's the guy. So there certainly was that. The thing that the Dallas Cowboys are going to need really when it comes to moving forward is they really are going to have to get that true number one weapon wide receiver.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be a free agency thing or whether it's going to be in the draft, that's going to be a big question because it is a team that will need some other things as well come next year's draft. But they need to have, they've got Zeke, that's fantastic. They need to have a true, solid, what Dez Bryant was to Tony Romo type of weapon.
And I think the thing with Dallas is this team needs to make one more move to really make sure that they solidify themselves as the second best team in the NFC East. I still think it's going to be the Eagles, and no matter what the move is, Dallas is always going to be number 2. But maybe it is we've heard rumors that Green Bay might want to move on from Randall Cobb. Maybe you go out and get a guy like Randall Cobb who's been great before in Green Bay, has kind of been on the downturn as of late, but he might be a guy that can still be a playmaker on your offense. And, if you go out and get a guy like Randall Cobb, you're helping Dak. And obviously we brought up Earl Thomas. If you go out there, you're still helping Dak in different ways. So I still feel like they're one move away from getting that big piece. And I think that trade needs to happen. Maybe not right away, but it needs to happen, I think, before this season to make sure, you get acclimated to that weapon. And you're able to fully implement them into your offense or defense. The interesting thing, though, is now looking at their schedule, if they do get Earl Thomas, they play in Seattle at week 3. So that's going to be super interesting to see if he goes back. But the one question I want to throw out to you.
Sure.
No offense, Dallas fans. I hate Jason Garrett. I've always hated Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
Ever since he was hired. I'm not a fan of Jason Garrett. I don't think he's a great head coach. He kind of shut my mouth back in 2016 when they did have that great season, but I still don't think he's a guy that's really going to take Dallas to that next level.
Yeah.
If he goes 8-8, if he goes 7-9, if he goes under 500, is this Jason Garrett's last season in Dallas?
I think it should be Jason Garrett's, but the thing is, if you're one of Jerry Jones' guys, you're pretty safe. I mean, unfortunately, that's really what it comes down to. And I've said almost every year that Jason Garrett should probably get fired, with of course 2016 being an exception. There's plenty of reasons why people don't like him. They think he's just a yes man. They don't think he's really in control. And they should go in different directions. And it doesn't happen because, he's Jerry Jones' guy.
Yeah.
He likes Jerry Jones. So in that case, I think probably should, but I think he'd be safe. I would not be surprised to see him come back.
I mean, in 7 seasons, he's won 2 division titles. He's won 1 playoff game. And even then, I mean, he's gone 8-8 in 3 seasons. He's had 3 winning seasons, I guess, if you count the 9-7 one. That's barely a winning season, though. Yep. I mean, he's been a guy that, again, they haven't had a ton of consistency.
Exactly.
They've either been, consistently okay at 8-8 and 9-7. They've been, great 2 years, or they've been bad 4-12. So I just think that, I think it might be time if you do, again, go 8-8, if you go 9-7, if you go 7-9, it might be time for that change.
Is that good enough? Are you satisfied with 8-8, 9-7?
This is Dallas. I mean, this is America's team. I mean, but you haven't won a Super Bowl. You haven't been relevant in my lifetime. You haven't gone to the Super Bowl since the 90s. I mean, this is the team of the 90s. This is like the Chicago Bulls. You're getting into Chicago Bulls territory where you're not going back to the finals. You're not consistently, winning games. You're, either really good with, Derrick Rose coming back, or you're just going to be a bottom feeder. Yep. So I think this team team needs just a culture change. And maybe that's never going to happen because Jerry Jones will always be there. But I think getting rid of Jason Garrett might be the next move for Dallas, because we talk about a number one receiver, we talk about the secondary, but maybe we just need to look inwards. And this guy's had 7 years and hasn't made it to the Super Bowl. He hasn't even made it to the NFC Championship game once. He's had to run into Green Bay twice, but again, outside of an Aaron Rodgers miracle, you might be in an NFC Championship game once, but then again, you're only 2-2. It might even be 2-3 if you lose the NFC Championship game. So I look at Jason Garrett, and he's been a winner. Technically, he's 67-53 in his career, but again, he hasn't been a winner in the sense of playoffs. Only he's gone 3 times and has a 1-2 record. So I think Jason Garrett might be the next one out, because you need to get a number one receiver. You need to get that secondary change. But I think you also probably need to get a guy that's really going to be a leader. And when we look at Jason Garrett, you said it, he's more of a yes man. And I don't think he's a guy that's a strong leader, and definitely not enough to at least put this team over the hump. This team might make the playoffs this year, but I think he might be more of that Lovie Smith guy rather than a good old, what's his name? Matt Nagy.
Oh, there you go. I like it. I like Matt Nagy.
They need a
reference.
Matt Nagy guy. Yeah. A young guy that's really going to be able to change the culture and revitalize this Dallas team. I think Jason Garrett is in that Tony Romo, Des Bryant area where it might be time to get some fresh blood in. So I think...
And, they're different teams. I mean, when Jason Garrett came in, that Dallas team was different than what it is now.
100%.
And sometimes, a coach just doesn't work with the personnel that's there, and their identity is just changing, and it's time to move on to what is next.
I think we always looked at Jason Garrett as being young too, but now he's 52 years old now. It's weird looking at that and seeing that he's 52.
Well, Sean McVay also ruined the whole young coach thing, because you can't be young when Sean McVay's out there.
But even when he came in there, I mean, he was really early 40s when he took over this team, or I think maybe mid 40s. I mean, he always looked just young out there. Now he's getting close to 55. He's getting close to becoming an older coach. He's an extremely veteran coach too. When talking about it, I just think he kind of falls into that Lovie Smith territory now, especially if he's not able to get back to the playoffs, because that's one thing Lovie was able to do, was get to NFC Championship games. He went to 2, even went to a Super Bowl. Jason Garrett doesn't have that luxury to say that. I think again, if he
falls more into maybe the Marvin Lewis type of territory of solid, right there, just not gonna get you out of average territory.
And if he's in that Marvin Lewis territory, he's gonna be the coach forever.
Marvin Lewis is the other one every single year. Should he go?
Oh,
yes.
God, he should have gone a long time ago.
Fine. He's gonna be here still. It's just one of those interesting things. I think the thing when it comes to Dallas is that they will be very kind of a steady type of team. You know that they're gonna be right in that middle chunk. For sure. They have the potential to go a little bit further, definitely, but they're just going to be that team that is reliable. One of the most interesting things with the Dallas Cowboys is they're one of the top in third down conversions, and what that's really telling you is not just that they can continue drives, but the fact that this is a team that is steady. They move in chunks. They move further down the field. And part of that is, of course, this solid, amazing offensive line they have, this great run game, and a very smart quarterback that doesn't make too many mistakes as Sean gets hit in the head with a fly.
Jesus Christ.
But it's just they're a very steady kind of team, and maybe they need that shot in the arm.
Well, and I think one thing, and you kind of talk about the consistency, is this is a team, their offense, with the third down conversion, they're always going to be able to put up points too, because once they get past, the 40-yard line, their own 40-yard line, Dan Bailey's in field goal range, and he's one of the most consistent kickers of the past 5 years. I mean, he's fantastic. So, this team's always going to be able to be in it. They're always going to be able to sustain drives. Dak, even with his feet, is going to be able to extend drives. Zeke, we obviously know he's a big play threat, but it's just really is do they have enough to not be consistent but also to be great? There's a difference between being a team that's putting up 3 points every single drive, but 4 drives you only have 12 points when your defense is letting up 3 passing touchdowns and you're down by 9 points. I was trying to do math there, 21 to 12.
You're good. 2-possession game.
Yeah, so it's still a 2-possession game, and you're still down, and now you're relying on Dak Prescott to throw the ball to make something big happen, because at some point you need a big play, and if you're consistently relying on Zeke, defenses are going to pick up on that, and they're going to try to stop Zeke and try to push him back, because we even saw Zeke last year. He was good. He wasn't getting consistent snaps because of the suspension, but again, he didn't have a rookie year season, and maybe the rookie year was an enigma. I'm not saying it is, because I still think Zeke is a fantastic player, but that was some of the talk: is Zeke that great, or did he have a great season? Was it the offensive line's help? I mean, how much was Zeke and how much was the offensive line? So I think this Cowboys season is going to answer a lot of questions on what the future is going to be and how good are their pieces. Is Dak Prescott the future quarterback? Is Zeke one of the top running backs in the league? Is this offensive line going to be sustainable? And how good is this defense, especially with Sean Lee's health being a major question mark?
Yep. Health is always a big question for any of these teams, really. But when it comes to a team that is in the middle, that's the kind of thing that makes or breaks this season into playoff team or, 7-9 and below, under 500 type of a team. But really, when it comes, my one thing I really need to see out of the Dallas Cowboys, it's similar to the Washington Redskins. I need to see somebody who is not Zeke offensively step up.
Yeah.
Somebody has to become, because there are some big shoes out there with Witten and Des Bryant. Somebody needs to become that true number one type of guy. And we kind of laugh a little bit when it's Allen Hurns, but, he has done it once before, having a good season. Now, a lot of it was, like I said, in garbage time type of moments. But they need somebody else besides Zeke. He can't do it 100% on his own to step up and lead this team forward.
And I don't think there's a guy on the roster. I mean, looking at it, I don't think it's Allen Hurns. I don't think it's Cole Beasley. I don't think it's any of the tight ends they have on roster. I don't think they have that playmaker. And I think that's why they need to probably put in some future assets to go get a guy through a trade, whether it's a Randall Cobb or some player like that. I think they need to add, and I don't even know if Randall Cobb would be the answer, but I think you need to try something. And I don't think Allen Hurns, especially with his injury concerns, is going to be a guy that you're going to be able to rely on 100 times throughout the season to catch balls and get and be able to move the sticks for you. I don't think he's that next level playmaker. And when you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, you need levels to your team. You need to be able to attack them through the air, through the run. I just don't think they're going to be better than Philadelphia this year. Yep. I think they can, again, finish second place and possibly a wild card. But let's look at the NFC South. I mean, they have probably 4 teams that might win that division. And those guys are always, vying and jockeying for positions, and they're always trying to be better. I mean, they have 3 teams that I think could be top of the NFC, top of the entire NFC in Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans. Let's look out west. I mean, clearly San Francisco is looking on the up and up. We see Seattle consistently being there. The Rams clearly are probably the best team in the NFC West. And we look at the NFC North. Green Bay is a consistent holder when you have Aaron Rodgers. Minnesota didn't lose too much. They even upgraded at the quarterback position. We believe highly in our Chicago Bears. I mean, this Dallas team, their best way into the playoffs might be through the NFC East, and I don't think they're the best team in the NFC East. And I think outside of Philadelphia, with major injuries, has pretty much the division locked up, and we haven't even played all 16 games.
It's always more difficult to be in the NFC, right? Well, I shouldn't say always, but right now it's more difficult to be in the NFC, and teams are gonna know how to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and it's gonna simply be stack the box.
Yeah.
If you can limit Zeke, you're gonna have an advantage over the Dallas Cowboys for sure, just because they don't have it yet to go through you in the air.
And I'm looking at the schedule for them. I'm looking at another 8-8 season. I think you're going to probably go 3-4 to start off the first 7 weeks going into your bye. I think you're going to win probably the last 3 games, which puts you at 6-6. I think you're probably going to beat Washington again, and maybe you can beat a Tennessee. That puts you right back at 8-8.
Yeah, which I think we're going to agree in this room, and you can let us know down below in the comment section. It's not good enough.
No, it's a fireable offense for Jason Garrett.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. But let us know if you think it's a fireable offense and if you think Jason Garrett should be gone. But also, who is this number 1 wide receiver? Who's the guy offensively besides Zeke who is going to step up and really make the difference for this team? And do you need Earl Thomas? Is that a necessity? Should you ignore it? What's the deal there? Let us know. So we're finally here. Let's talk about the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
It hurts to hear that.
Just
because I knew my Patriots were so close and Brady fumbled.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And honestly, I don't want to put it out there to make Eagles fans mad, but if he didn't fumble, Patriots were probably going to win that game.
Yeah, if he caught that one ball, they might have won that game.
They might have.
I mean, it was a very close game. It was a fun game. I think Eagle fans. Again, you didn't want it to be a blowout. I mean, it was like that was a good game. We got it.
It was awesome.
We got a fun one. I don't think fans are too upset, especially not Philly fans, because they won.
Yeah, and it's fun to see a team win that doesn't win. Did you see the story about the flea flicker?
No.
There was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With
Wait.
the woman that worked with the team, and she would take notes, and she would always say,
that one, yeah.
Yeah, she would always ask, is the flea flicker going to be in the play call this week? No, not this week. And finally,
and
flea flicker
is that
this
the one
year.
that Chip Kelly fired too?
Yep.
This is the important stuff about the Philadelphia. You guys are a good team. We don't care about your actual
you
team.
guys are good.
I mean, yeah, and then they gave her a Super Bowl ring. That was nice.
Yeah, it was a cute little, fun, feel-good story, for sure. Some fluff pieces in the offseason, because when you're a good team like the Philadelphia Eagles, you don't have that much to talk about because people are just going to say, Philadelphia Eagles are good.
Well, and the biggest question mark is will we trade our backup quarterback? Because we have two quarterbacks, one that won us a Super Bowl and one's that our number one draft pick that was almost an MVP.
A backup quarterback MVP and a number one starting quarterback that would have probably won the NFL MVP if he was there. But honestly, when it comes to Philadelphia Eagles, the actual questions are really things like injuries. Tim Jernigan, surgery for herniated disc. You have Brandon Graham, who's been in an ankle, a boot for his ankle surgery. Let's see, we got some players that have left. Let's see, guys like I just lost my notes, but Bo Allen, Vinny Curry. These are important.
Pat Robinson.
Yeah, these are important things because of the fact that you're looking at what was dominant last year. They had a great defensive line, but we also are losing parts to that. Now they're going to get guys like Richard Rodgers. They're signing Paul. Worley Lowe is what it looks like to me, but I probably pronounced it wrong because I'm bad at that. But Mike Wallace is a good addition to this team, a guy who's had a lot of success in the past and then had some lesser success as well. But this is also a team with some losses because people are going to pick apart that. And when you win a Super Bowl, people want big money as well. They're not bringing back Brent Selleck. They're not going to bring back Daryl Worley. They do get Haloti Ngata, which I really like that as an addition. And then one thing that is really kind of, I don't know if I like it or not, Michael Bennett from the Seahawks. I'm not sure if I like that pick.
Well,
that little deal is or not.
I'm not too mad about it because let's look at their defensive line, and I mean they're pretty much set already at their first four. I mean they have Brandon Graham, they have Fletcher Cox, they have Derek Barnett, they have Timmy Jernigan, and then and one big thing about their defense last year was they were able to rotate in four, so
which they can still do.
Yeah, and you're still. I mean, Michael Bennett might not be your starter, but he's at least going to get snaps, and I think that's something where he's got to kind of work for it, and I like that because he's going to be working against with Chris Long, he's going to be working with Michael Bennett, and even though Michael Bennett's kind of an asshole off the field,
and that's
or even
a little
on
bit
the
more
field
of what I'm worried about.
He's still good.
Is it going to be kind of more locker room issues? Because this team, I mean, this was a team that gelled. Together so well, in fact, that they got uninvited from the White House because literally none of them, besides like 6, were going to show up.
Let's not bring up politics because we know someone's going to jump in.
So well is what the point is, to where it was almost hive mind like.
Yeah, and that's one thing too that I think it might actually benefit Mike Bennett too, because I think Pete Carroll really let those personalities flourish. I mean, that was one thing that was great about the Legion of Boom, was that these guys had personalities. They were trash talking. They were really brash on the field. Philly, while they do a lot of talking on the field, and I think they're going to let their play talk for them. I think having that hive mind might be good for a guy like Michael Bennett, because if he talks out, it's 52 other guys going up against you. Instead of you letting that kind of culture flourish and kind of culture. I think having the Eagles, where you're going to have everyone for the team rather than everyone for yourself, where it was in Seattle, I think that's going to be the biggest thing for Michael Bennett, which, again, he's still a great player, and that might be the most beneficial to him, is at least kind of having a team that negates his personality.
Yeah. When it comes to the draft, I mean, they didn't have an opportunity to do too much. I mean, they had their second round pick, Dallas Goedert, and then they didn't pick again until the 4th round. Yeah. So that is great, though, in the sense that, with guys like Trey Burton leaving, I just knocked down my water bottle, Brent Selleck no longer with the team. These are, this is a nice replacement. I mean, you're probably getting your number 1 tight end here who you can really rely on.
I mean, you still got Zach Ertz too. So I mean, that's one thing is you really don't need I mean, he's a guy that's going to be developing, and they do run some two tight end sets where he's not going to be a guy that you need to rely on. He can be a guy that's at least going to work in small bunches.
Yeah.
He's going to get his snaps in, but he's not going to be a guy that needs to step in for a Super Bowl champion.
And that's the thing, because this Philadelphia Eagles offense has really good pass catchers, but the thing I like about it a lot is that they're not. You don't have Des Bryant out there. You know, you don't have your absolute way better than everybody else type of guy. Aguilar, Wallace, Alshon Jeffrey.
Do we think Alshon could be that guy? Because, I mean, he had a really good season last year.
He did, but it wasn't statistically. It's not like he blew everybody out. I mean, he was like, what, 800 yards, I think is what he was?
I think he got over 1,000, right? Or
no,
it was very close.
789 is what I just pulled up.
Or he was on
pace
year for 1,000, and then Foles came in and he just kind of fell off a cliff.
Which is very true. I mean, we do need to put the note of Nick Foles. There was transition time with Nick Foles, for sure.
I mean, the last 2 games he had 0 yards and then 8 yards. So, I mean, in the first 13 weeks, really until that Carson Wentz game at LA, he had 732 yards and had 8 touchdowns. So I mean, he was a guy that really had a good season. And
he did
per 16 games using those numbers. He had 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. And I mean, we love Alshon here. Alshon was a fantastic pickup for the Bears.
I'm glad he won a Super Bowl. I wish he didn't do it immediately after leaving the Chicago Bears, but
and he guaranteed that they were going to win.
He did.
But I think.
But I don't
having
use
Carson Wentz
that
for a full season, I think, or possibly a full season, close to a full season, will really be a benefit to him, because even in the playoffs when Foles took over, he came back and had 61 yards, 85 yards, 73 yards, and had 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was really good in the playoffs too. I think Alshon could still be a game changer. I
don't really use that as a knock, though, the fact that he didn't stand out too far above everybody else. Because to what I'm seeing that as is this is a team where it truly is a team effort out there. You know, Carson Wentz can throw it to any of these guys and know that they will, in fact, be catching the ball, moving down the field. You know, this team didn't have any 1,000-yard receivers last year. And, of course, Carson Wentz injury and all that too. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's only room to go up further, move up more, but it's a team where it's pretty balanced. You can't just focus on Alshon Jeffrey because you got Aguilar, Wallace, and Ertz there as well.
And I think one thing too is we see consistently with Super Bowl winners, it's not really who the star playmaker is, who's the guy that's consistently catching balls. You could still have Hall of Famers as your running back, as your wide receivers, but if your quarterback is the guy that you consistently say, all right, this guy's making the difference, that's usually the team winning the Super Bowl. I mean, let's look at Peyton Manning. He had Marvin Harrison, he had Reggie Wayne, both of those guys Hall of Famers, but we still talk about Peyton Manning as one of the best of all time. Tom Brady had Randy Moss, he's had Rob Gronkowski, he's had Julian Edelman, he's had Wes Welker, but we consistently look at Tom Brady as the greatest of all time. Same with Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben. Even though, I mean, Antonio Brown might be the reason why Big Ben's having success right now. Same with Le'Veon Bell. We still look at Big Ben as the guy, and Big Ben's still a Hall of Famer, probably a top 10 quarterback of all time. So Carson Wentz, again, maybe he doesn't need he has really talented players on the outside, Mike Wallace, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, and J.H.I. But again, Carson Wentz is the focal point. He is the main piece, and that's really the true testament of a great team. Not having a great wide receiver, not having the best wide receiver of all time. It's just making sure. I mean, even let's look at Jerry Rice. I mean, we consistently talk about Steve Young and Joe Montana, even though Jerry Rice was an unstoppable machine.
Exactly.
So I mean, you need to have that quarterback that again is going to be able to distribute it, so he's not putting that pressure and kind of letting you focus on one guy. So again, having Carson Wentz and having even I'll give credit to Nick Foles, having those guys that can really distribute the
Super
ball
Bowl MVP Nick Foles
to everybody, to everybody on the field. That's really going to make Alshon Jeffrey step out, because when you need to go into to him in big moments and make sure he makes that catch and he can catch a ball in the back of the end zone, he's not going to be double coverage because they know you're going to him. Having a guy that can really distribute around to Zach Ertz, Mike Wallace, J.J., Darren Sproles out of the backfield, that's going to be the biggest thing. And I think Alshon Jeffrey can still be that game-changing playmaker. Yeah,
one thing that's important to look at, though, is with some of these changes here, I mean, LeGarrette Blount is gone, so he's not going to be there. J.J. is still there, and that's definitely a great weapon to have out of the backfield. But Darren Sproles, not quite the same Darren Sproles as he was before when he was younger. Corey Clement is the kind of, we just still don't know completely what we're going to get out of him. I mean, he shined when he had his opportunities, but just didn't get too many of them. So the question really, I think, if there is much of a question here on the offensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles, is this running game still going to be one of the absolute best like it was last year?
Yeah.
I can easily see it taking a step back, but when you're at the very top, of rushing offenses last year, step back isn't that big of a deal.
No.
They just need, a guy like Corey Clement or Darren Sproles to step up a little bit to help Jay Ajayi, because he's definitely going to need it.
And even Wendell Smallwood has been decent in the limited touches he's gotten. So I think, again, having those 4 backs can still give you consistent looks. And even then, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. They picked up Josh Adams as an undrafted free agent, and I really liked him. I thought he was going to be drafted. They ended up scooping him up, and we look at his last year with Notre Dame, almost 200 yards, or 200 attempts rushing the ball, 1,300 yards, averaged 7.3 carries per game, 9 touchdowns. He's a guy that can really break tackles, can really be a kind of a bruising back, and really show some speed. I'm interested to see how he develops and how he turns out as an NFL pro if he does get a lot of snaps. If Darren Sproles is able to stay healthy, though, you do still have 4 guys that can consistently rely on. And maybe Darren Sproles isn't the same Darren Sproles, but he's still going to be consistent and reliant. Yeah. So I'm not too worried. Even if Darren Sproles is like your 4th back, he's still a guy that's going to consistently
assuming
be
he's
able
there.
to get,
I mean, someone's going to get cut.
I think it most likely will be Smallwood, though.
Probably. Just as other guys are kind of just, I don't know, above him in the order. The only thing I could see them maybe saying with Darren Sproles is if he just doesn't have it in him anymore. Yeah. Is really what it could be. For Philadelphia, this is such a solid team. They came on so strong last year, and we had some great showing in that rookie season, some great flashes out of Carson Wentz a couple years back. They still had the hard schedule that everybody else has. But my question I have to ask with every single Super Bowl champion that just dominates people is, do we see a 15-1 type of Green Bay Packers post their Super Bowl? Do we see them run the table? Because they were 13-3 last year.
Yeah.
They were not far from it. Can this team be the other team besides the Miami Dolphins, to completely run the table and just knock everybody out, maybe even get an 18-1 perfect season?
Well, and even that too. I mean, they were looking at possibly even only 2 losses last year until they had to go up against Dallas with Nick Foles, and they completely crapped the bed in Week 17. I think this is a team that can be really, really something special. I think they're going to be favored in every single game. And even though we talk about the tough schedule, having to go up against the NFC South, having even to go up against the AFC South, I think this is a team that's going to be favored in every single game. The only one that they might not be is probably the game at LA, and then maybe the game at New Orleans. Even then, I think they might even be the favorite against New Orleans, too. This is a team defensively that they're so solid at every single level. I mean, we talk about that defensive line being able to switch 4 guys in and out, and still be able to keep the quality on the field. We look at the linebacker situation. You still have guys like Nigel Bradham. You still have a really good middle linebacker in Jordan Hicks. And then even we look at the secondary. Sidney Jones is a guy that has a ton of potential on the outside as a cornerback. We look at Ronald Darby. He's been so good throughout his career. And we look at Malcolm Jenkins really as one of the leaders for Philly. That defense is going to be consistent. They have depth. They have stars. They have everything you want in a Super Bowl champion. And then we talk about that Eagles offense with Carson Wentz. I mean, he's an MVP. So I think this is something where, again, we might see a 14-2 team. We might see a 15-1 team. I think the biggest question marks is, can they win at New Orleans? Can they win at Los Angeles? And how much will the division opponents give them trouble? Because I think this is a team that can go 6-0 in the division and just completely run the table and run away with this division. Because we've talked about the question marks with Dallas, with Washington, with New York. There isn't really that question mark with Philly. It's just how good can they be?
Yep.
How will they deal with the targets on the back?
There are 1 or 2 question marks being like the defensive line just had quite a bit of shifting, or not having LeGarrette Blount, so the offense or the running backs might be a little bit less. Those are such small little question marks, because we're even in saying, will the defensive line be as good? we're acknowledging that they're still really good. It's just, are they going to be as dominant?
And something this Eagles team thrived off of was controversy, was being the underdog. I mean, we saw the whole dog masks throughout the season, and that's because Carson Wentz was out. They really were pushed up by having Nick Foles, weirdly enough, as your quarterback. How will being the guys with the targets on your back, having
you're
Carson
not
Wentz,
an underdog anymore.
You're not. I mean, you're a Super Bowl champion, expect to go 14-2, 13-3, 15-1 even, or possibly even undefeated, like you mentioned. How will you deal with that? I mean, I think that this team can deal with it fine. I think they're going to be, great. I mean, they seem like they're a really strong team. They're really well put together. Peterson looks like he has a fantastic system running so far with the Eagles. It's just, when it comes to the playoff time and consistently having the target on your back, how will you deal with it after going up against, Carolina, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Atlanta to start off the season? How will you deal with playing a tough schedule already and then go into the playoffs and have to do it again another time? We don't see a lot of repeats in football for a reason. What last team to do it was the Patriots back in 2003, 2004. I mean, it's been a while since we had repeat champions. The Eagles have enough to do it. I think they have the best shot of any team, and they probably should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl again. But that doesn't mean much after you go through a 16-game season, especially if Carson Wentz unfortunately goes down again. We don't really know what this team would look like, being the favorites, and then also dealing with injuries.
Injuries can hit anybody
with
on your team.
Yeah, 16-game schedule.
Even something that might feel small, like you lose a linebacker or something like that, can create a big hole that other teams can go at.
Yep.
One thing that I love to look at with the Philadelphia Eagles is we just get excited about we're not Philadelphia fans, but I mean, it's just beautiful to see is this differential. They have a 10.2 point differential between how many points they score on average and how many points they let you score on average. That is shocking in the NFL.
Yeah.
To score 28 plus and to give up only 18, that is a huge difference. The thing that we got, I think, remember with the Philadelphia Eagles, it's very hard for teams to completely go out there and repeat and win a Super Bowl or just be as good as they were when they have a dominant season like that. But even if these Philadelphia Eagles are a 10-6 team, an 11-5 team, which many would consider kind of a down, from what they were last year, that's still good. That's still good enough to get in the playoffs. It's still good enough to probably win this division. They're going to be back. The thing that they have to kind of compete with, like you're saying, not being underdogs anymore, how does that change this mentality? Because this team had a lot of swagger. They had a lot of attitude. Can they still have that this coming year? And is it going to be like a Legion of Boom thing where eventually that kind of ate away at the team and made them less successful years down the line?
I think what's going to eat at them is just the fact that you're going to get older and these guys are going to demand more
money. They're going to
want
to get paid.
And you're going to deal with salary cap issues rather than personality issues or even injury issues with Seattle. Because I mean, this team, again, like we talked about at the start of the segment, that this is really a team, this is a culture, that they have a lot of leaders, they have strong veterans on this team with compared with a lot of youth on this team. I think this is a really put together unit, and I think the biggest thing that's just going to go after them is the same problem the Patriots dynasty hit after, was just salary cap issues, and you're going to have to move on and make important decisions. Yep. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, and are you going to be able to handle it like Bill Belichick has done, and be able to create a 16-year-long dynasty? Or will this be like Seattle, where now we're looking at you and you might not even be, the second best team in your division now, the way with John Schneider handled it. So I think it's really with the Eagles is we know they're going to, it's kind of like with the Cubs right now. We know they're going to have a shot at the Super Bowl every single year, but will they be able to do it? Will this just be an NFC Championship team? How will they deal with being a favorites? How will they deal with the salary cap? How will they deal with, making sure they keep having pieces that, rotate in and add to your team? I mean, they did it so far. I think this team is, not better than they were last year, but I think they're still on the same level because you're getting Carson Wentz back. Sure. You're adding Michael Bennett to that already great defensive line.
If anything goes wrong, you have Nick Foles there either to come in if Carson gets hurt, or let's say you need a wide receiver because you had two of them get hurt. Well, I got a pretty good Super Bowl MVP quarterback backup here that I can use as trade bait to get whatever I want.
Yeah.
you have
maybe
so many
they even
there.
go sign Dez if he's still available.
Yeah.
So I think they still have the ability to add to this team. And one thing too that we really didn't talk about is Lane Johnson was suspended for a large majority of the year last year. Now they're getting him back. So that's even kind of another addition, even to this team, is that you're getting your right tackle, a guy that's been a stud so far.
Yeah.
Back to this team. So. Again, the Eagles, it's really what will they do? It's not the question mark of how good they will be. It's really how successful will they be? It's really can they just win the Super Bowl again?
And the hard thing for the Philadelphia Eagles is you look at the AFC and who might be in the Super Bowl. Well, you got the Patriots, and maybe you want to put the Pittsburgh Steelers in the conversation. But when you come to the NFC, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. We've got the Minnesota Vikings. We've got the LA Rams. We had the New Orleans Saints. You might be able to make an argument for the Atlanta Falcons, but I still think that Sarkisian's a bit of a question mark for that, of if he can really be successful. But even then, you have double the amount of teams that you can make a very solid argument that they will be in the Super Bowl this coming year. So there's just more competition, and Philly will for sure run into at least two of those teams in the playoffs.
Well, and that's one thing too, is now this young Los Angeles Rams team has gotten better, both adding personnel, but also have gotten older. Sean McVay's now in his second year. Jared Goff's now in his third year. We look at San Francisco. If San Francisco is legit or not, now you're adding another team that we really didn't think about. At the NFC South, like you mentioned, is horrifying. And maybe if Sarkisian's able to put back together this Super Bowl team, Atlanta might even be the best team in the NFC. Green Bay still has Aaron Rodgers. Detroit added Matt Patricia, which you think will help this team. And the Vikings turned from Case Keenum to Kirk Cousins, and this team's just going to get better too. And they have the pressure of your window's closing now. You just added a Kirk Cousins, and now you're
and that defense is getting older.
Yeah, and you're going to be going up against salary cap issues with that defense. So you need to start winning now. Philadelphia might be a team where they don't have that urgency because you still have Carson Wentz, who's only in his third year, and you already won a Super Bowl. You kind of took that monkey off your back. Not having that monkey off your back is going to at least, give you less of an edge this year. Not being the underdog is going to give you less of an edge. I think it was a perfect storm for Philadelphia. It might not be a perfect storm for them. It might be the perfect storm against them that really puts them away from winning another Super Bowl. Because if you go up against Tom Brady after going through the hellacious NFC in the playoffs, you're going up against Tom Brady that you just beat. And you're going up against Tom Brady that's older, that really might be looking at as one of his final chances to win a Super Bowl again in his career. So it's something that it's going to be really tough for Philly to repeat. They have the pieces to do it. They have the coach to do it. It's just really, can they go against that perfect storm and really go up against the odds again and do it for the second year in a row?
The interesting thing for the Philadelphia Eagles, though, when it comes to these Super Bowl chances, these playoff chances, they're going to play the Falcons. They're going to play the Jaguars, the Panthers, the Saints. They're going to play the Vikings. They're going to play pretty much all these teams, and the Rams included, that we talk about as these other Super Bowl contenders. The only one they don't really play are, the Steelers and the Patriots. But in the NFC side, at least, which is important, they get to see all these guys once in the regular season.
I think that hurts them, though. Because now, especially if you win that regular season matchup, that gives the other team the edge of, all right, we already saw them. We know what they do. Yeah. Now we got to get the revenge and beat you, and also you're the Super Bowl champions. I think it puts more pressure on the Eagles, because if you beat them in the regular season, you have to go prove it again. This is a team that you already beat.
It's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, you have to beat a team twice, and these are playoff teams that you're going up against. This isn't the fucking New York Giants. You have to go up against legit teams in the Rams. I think this is going to be something that's really going to be a difficult time for the Eagles to repeat. They have the pieces to do so. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they step up, how they come together, how Carson Wentz comes back from injury. Because if he's not 100% healthy, he might not be ready for week 1. If he comes in week 2, week 3, he's still not fully healthy, people might be being like, hey, let's throw in Nick Foles until he's 100% healthy. And you have that luxury, but then again, you don't want to kill his confidence. And Carson Wentz is still the better quarterback of the two. I doubt they would actually pull him, once they start him. I think he's going to be the starter, unless he gets injured again. But if they have that, that's going to be something that Philly media is going to eat up, that Philly media is going to be pushing against. And Philly fans, they just got a taste of a Super Bowl. They're not going to start being like, oh, it's fine. Philly fans are going to want more and more and more, and rightfully so. This is a team that can win the Super Bowl again.
And Carson Wentz, I love how when he's ever asked about it, he's like, basically, to paraphrase, he just says, Nick Foles knows his place. Is essentially what he's saying. He says it a lot nicer because Carson Wentz is a great guy, and really, really great guy. Just look at the things he's done on the offseason.
Look at the way he holds a clipboard,
Yeah, it's great when he's holding that clipboard.
Leader. They won a Super Bowl when he's holding the clipboard.
You know what? That's the fact. If he holds a clipboard, they win Super Bowls 100% of the time.
I called him Clipboard Carson when he was coming out for a reason.
Yep.
Again, I might have been wrong that saying Jared Goff was a better quarterback, but I still said that he would be holding a clipboard in the most biggest and important games. And he has a ring because he was holding the clipboard.
Exactly. But thank you, Sean, for joining us on the Onside Kick today.
Thanks for having me.
It was fun. I mean, I'm sorry that you had to talk about the team that beat your favorite Tom Brady.
It's okay.
But it's all right. And let us know.
We'll get him this year.
Hopefully, maybe, for you guys.
You guys don't want that.
Yeah, I would rather not see yet another Patriots Super Bowl. But
Do you want to see a Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl, though? Would it be better if it's a rematch?
The only reason I would be willing to see another Patriots Super Bowl is if it's a rematch. I agree with that. Or if it's the Bears.
Yeah.
Because the Bears 100% of the time
you don't care who they're going up
beat
against,
the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So we're good odds here. But let us know what you guys think about the Philadelphia Eagles or any of the teams that we talked about. Who's winning this division? Who's going to be at the bottom? Any of these people going to win the Super Bowl? Let us know in the comment section. Hit the like button, the sub button, so you know all the other ones we got. So far, we've only done the AFC East, so there's a lot more coming. So you definitely want to hit the sub button.
I do want to throw this out there, though.
Yeah.
Because we brought up the Bears Patriots Super Bowl, and we're not going to be able to talk about this because I'm not on the Onside Kick that much.
For sure.
Let's look at the Eagles last year. They had a second-year quarterback.
Yep.
He got injured. Hopefully that doesn't happen with Mitch, but who's the backup? Former Eagles quarterback, Chip Kelly system. We look at, or not Chip Kelly, Andy Reid system, Doug Peterson system, Chase Daniel. Is Chase Daniel going to be Tom Brady
He's
this
the
year as
future,
the back quarterback? Nick Foles.
He's the future Super Bowl MVP, Chase Daniel. It's singular, Daniel.
One Daniel.
One Daniel. Head to mostvaluablepodcast.com. You can check out everything going on. You can get yourself an MVP t-shirt. It does look quite nice. And patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcasts, where you can become a patron, support the channel, but also be on any of your favorite MVP podcasts, whether it's basketball, college, football, games, nerd stuff. We got it all for you. And thank you guys so much for coming to check us out. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes and all those places where you can review us and let people know why they should listen to us. But we'll see you next week when we talk about, just continue on. I don't actually know which one we're going to talk about next, so it'll be a surprise for you guys. It's probably the AFC North or the NFC North.
Probably AFC. That sucks.
Because you really want to talk about the Browns?
Well, no, the AFC North is just boring. Steelers win. Wow.
Well, you heard it here. You don't need to tune in next week, evidently.
Listen to see how bad the Bengals are and why they're going to keep Marvin Lewis again.
Yeah, but actually, there's some exciting things. The Browns are exciting this year, kind of. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks, or actually, no, in 1 week. I'm so confused right now.
Just end the podcast.
I will see you guys. I hope you enjoyed the NBA draft.